My furnace is fixed, and Jay Birch is in the chat talking Latin. Let's find out what that's about next.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me.
It's lunchtime. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Lunch with the Clydesdale. I am here. I am alone. Corey has a family emergency he needed to attend to. So thoughts and prayers out to him and his family. It seems as though everything is okay. Don't want people to get too worked up about it, but he has to take care of some stuff. So hopefully he and his family are doing just fine. What's going on, everyone? I come in to do the show, and Jay Birch has left this. I think it's Latin, but I didn't do well in junior high Latin, so there we go. I don't know. Maybe he'll come back and translate for us. We got Joseph, we got Meredith, we got Terry, we got Ken in the house, we got David Reed, we've got Amanda, Ken Walters, best podcast, walk-in music in the space. Amanda says facts, love it. Yeah, Latin placeholder. It's been a long time since I've had Latin class, man. So not good at it. Not good at all. It's a text holder. It doesn't mean anything. Man, Jay Birch, your wisdom sometimes flies right over my head. We use that in design so that customers don't focus on content. Okay, there you go. It must be a thing. It must be a thing. So it's been a weird week, man. My furnace went out Monday. It got fixed this morning. So that's good. Because the temperatures are supposed to dip back down here in a little bit, in maybe a day or two. But we were able to get through it pretty unscathed with no heat. Our little space heater was doing more than enough, and actually it made our house warmer than it is normally. So we made it through that. Yesterday, I was actually in a meeting where I had to present to my bosses. I got a ton of compliments. I actually felt good about what had happened and what they said to me. And I DM'd a coworker, like, is this what feeling good means? And like proud of your work? Because I'm just not used to that. Getting compliments and such, but it was pretty awesome. Felt pretty good about myself yesterday. So that was good. This week I've started back to doing some workouts, trying to be creative, trying to up the intensity. Hopefully that I can get into the open timeline and maybe do some stuff this year. I don't know. I still have a biopsy Monday, but been doing a couple workouts this week, and I'm hurting. I'm feeling like I'm moving in molasses right now. And so it's hard, but I know I have to get through this spot to get to where I need to be. Been dialing in the nutrition over the last week or so. Feeling good there. But I want to ask you guys, like, when you dial in your nutrition, what's the first thing you miss? And what's weird for me right now is I'm missing something very bizarre. When I was a kid, after every swim meet, McDonald's would donate like a 5-gallon jug of orange drink, like high C orange drink. And there are times where my mouth waters just talking about it. The memory of those days, like chugging back high C orange drink after a swim meet, was just my favorite thing in the whole world. And McDonald's still sells it today. You can drive through, get an orange drink. For some reason, that is just the craving I have right now. Seema says sour candy is her thing. Yeah, I am a fruity candy. If I go to candy, that is kind of where I'm at. Sour candy is so good. But right now, that's not really what's on my list. It's just this orange drink. Mark Phillips says PB&J sandwiches. Seema says I had to buy those shameless snacks from Amazon, but they don't quite hit like Sour Patch Kids. Okay. Wayne is a chips and salsa. So back to the PB&J. When I went in I had to present to my bosses. Apparently, a restaurant has opened up right by the state office tower, and it sells gourmet PB&J. And they were talking about the sandwiches there, and I'm like, seriously, we're to a point in our society where you have to go to a restaurant to get a PB&J. To me, that was like what you resorted to when you had nothing else in the house. And I like PB&J, but now you buy it in a restaurant. I mean, if this thing's successful, kudos to them, because man, the inventory would not be hard to keep up with. But dang. Meredith says, I missed the random snacking that I didn't even realize I was doing throughout the day. Isn't that odd how that goes? So I immediately, like, as I was dialing everything in, I went and bought a bunch of fresh vegetables, chopped them up. So I had that thing I could throw in a bowl and just kind of like throw in my mouth that allows me to have like some crunch. So I have like some radishes, some carrots, some celery, some peppers that I can just grab and throw in my mouth. But yeah. So, and hoping like the vitamins and stuff and that help me get through my soreness of the last couple days. Lido comes in with fries for me and pizza. Jay Birch says probably chips. Greg said nuts and seeds to that. So that's what I snack on. There you go. Yeah, I like that stuff too. I just don't ever think about it when I'm at the store. Love seeds, love nuts. So there it is. The other kind of guilty pleasure I wanted to talk about is, you know how like in the things in the streaming world now are placed at you like they have to do event programming. Event programming is getting higher ratings than scripted television. It's much cheaper in the long run. And so a lot of your streaming services are trying to get in with the NFL, in with the NBA, so they can do event programming. Well, the latest big event coming to Netflix is this. Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano, I think is how it's pronounced. Carano, one of those two. Ronda Rousey's MMA career ended with a handful of losses. Gina Carano has not fought since 2009. And you know what? I'm all in on this fight. I'm all in. I have been burned by the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight. I've been burned by the Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr. fight that didn't amount to anything because they were way past their prime. And yet here they come with another fight, and I am all in. All in. All in. I Ronda Rousey for a moment was the Mike Tyson of MMA. Then people figured her out, and she just kept losing. Gina Carano was one of the greatest MMA fighters early on in its existence. And to see both of these legends go toe to toe, I think is awesome. I hope it can deliver. Because I've been disappointed with every other event like this. It's being produced by Jake Paul. He's the one that brought us the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight on Netflix. Yeah, Ken Walters, the Bridges Hebner fight. Yeah, that thing was a joke. Jacob Hebner dominated that so much. He was younger, he was bigger, and Josh Bridges didn't stand a chance. So, yeah, we have these things, and we get sucked into them. And I admit it, I'm there. I'm so sucked into all this. But here we go. I guess Ken is getting killed with snow this weekend. Yeah, almost all of our snow is gone. It's been warm all week, and everything is melted. So 2 more things before we dive fully into the CrossFit stuff. And that is, I know a lot of people are Tyson Bagent fans. I'm a Chicago Bears fan. I love Tyson Bagent. I love his interviews. I love what he does. But there are rumors circling right now that he is about to get, well, I'm not saying about to get traded. There is a team that is extremely interested in bringing him in to be their starting quarterback. And that is the Arizona Cardinals. This isn't a done deal. The league year has not started yet. The trade cannot be made yet. But it does appear like from all the stuff I'm watching from Chicago that there is serious interest in Tyson Bagent from the Arizona Cardinals. And that would bring him in to most likely be their starting quarterback. And I'm torn because I think he's like the best backup quarterback in the league. And I love having them there as a safety valve. But I think he's good enough to be given a shot. And with Caleb Williams, the starter in Chicago, he's never going to get a fair shot at being the starter. And so on one hand, I want him to stay. On another hand, I want him to have an opportunity. So Sean Lunderman says he isn't a starter in the league. I think he is, man. I think he is. And I actually think the Cardinals are a good fit. They have good receivers. They have a good tight end. Their tight end was Rookie of the Year. I think that it is really, really a good fit for him. Ken Walter says Murray's salary is too much to dump. I think 38.6 and 19 and 27. Yeah, but Tyson just signed an extension. He's under contract for 2 more years at less than 10 million a season. So you're getting a guy to try him out at less than 10 million a year that can help you dump a bigger salary because you're not putting it all into the one position. Train Olive wouldn't be the first time a backup shines as a starter somewhere else. Yeah, every opportunity Tyson has been given, he shined. It's just that they drafted a guy number 1 who is paying off, and it's going to be impossible to leapfrog that guy. And so when given the opportunity, the preseason, Tyson was on fire. When he was given 4 starts 2 years ago, he went 2-2 in the NFL on a bad team. A bad team. He went 2-2. Sean Linderman, he played on a bad Bears team. Very bad. Very bad. He did not have the team that the Bears have today. They had 0 offensive line. They had nothing at the skill position. He had nobody to throw to. Now, if he's given an opportunity, he has Marvin Harrison Jr. He has the rookie tight end in Arizona. He has a better offensive line. He has a decent running game there. I think it's a better chance for him to succeed. As a backup, he had a great deal, and a good team provides extra playoff money too. True, but being a starter, he could make like major coin. Yeah, if he stays in Chicago, it's just waiting for Caleb to possibly get hurt, basically. Exactly. And he's a nice safety valve if that happens, but you don't want him to lose out on an opportunity. Now, he chose to stay in Chicago. He signed the extension, and he said he did so because he wanted more time to learn under Ben Johnson before he goes to take his shot at winning in the NFL. And I think that's a smart move. Sean Lennerman, that would be great for him. I really like Tyson, not trying to sound like an ultra hater. Yeah, I'm really conflicted, to be honest. I want him to stay in Chicago because he's a great backup quarterback. But I do think he deserves the opportunity. Right, but who's going to pick up Murray's salary as he hasn't really performed? In Minnesota, they say Vikings are looking at Murray trade, but that cap hit would really mess us up. I've heard a bunch of teams listed, Ken. I've heard the Jets. I've heard the Steelers trying to give him a second chance. His talent is undeniable. It's the work ethic that people need to know about. So we'll see about Kyler Murray. And Ken is daydreaming because he is having a big, vivid dream here that he wants the Vikes to trade for Burrow to reunite him with Jefferson. Come on, dude. The Bengals are never letting Burrow out. Never. All right, last thing I want to talk about, and this is kind of into CrossFit, and that is I was listening to the WOD Prep podcast, their Monday night show, and I was they were talking about how cool it would be to have like celebrity throwdowns similar to Roe versus Boz, where they matched up people of similar skill sets to go against each other at open announcements. And they were trying to find someone for like John Young, or some people were suggesting people for Claire to take on. And one of the things that was brought up was that Claire should take on Jamie, our Jamie, my Jamie. And Claire said, oh, Jamie would wipe the floor with me. That's not a good match. I think Claire is super fit. CJ jumped in and said, I don't know. I think you could do well against Jamie. Jamie is an absolute savage. And if Jamie is head to head with anybody, she will trounce them. I love Claire. I think she's super fit. I think she would do awesome against a lot of people, but I think people underestimate how fit Jamie Latimer is. She won the Open in her age group last year. She finished 6th at the games this year, and she has had shoulder injuries and hip injuries that she's been fighting through and finally got corrective surgery for those things. I think people underestimate how truly fit Jamie is. Sean says Jamie is pretty high level. Yeah, real high level. Real high level. If you remember the first ever World Fitness Project qualifiers, Jamie qualified. Now, she messed up her video, so it got taken away, but she qualified as an elite athlete for the first ever when everybody was jumping into the WFP qualifiers. She's 41 years old, and she's doing that stuff. Mark Phillips says, yeah, that matchup isn't really close. Jay Birch, love Claire, but Jamie would dominate. Yeah, and it's nothing against Claire. Like, Jamie's just another world savage, especially head-to-head. Sean says, oh, yeah, just making sure I'm thinking of the correct Jamie. CJ is high. Yeah. How is she recovering from the surgeries? I think she's way ahead of schedule. Way, way, way ahead of schedule. So Clock says Jamie versus John Young. See, that would all depend on the workout. If it's more cardio based, I think Jamie has him by a mile. I think if it's strength based, John would crush her. Denise says she doesn't look 41. She doesn't. She is so fit. Train Olive, Jamie will still make quarters, if not beyond, even recovering from her surgery. Again, she has said it on the show. It all depends on what pops up. There's just a couple things that she is struggling with right now. Other than that, she's going to try, and we'll see how it goes. Amanda likes the fact of Jamie versus John Young. Yeah, truly, like, let's be honest. John is in the top 5% of CrossFitters in strength. And because of that, if it's a strength WOD, he has it hands down. But for fitness level, Jamie is savage. Ken says, and Jamie also has great hair days. She does. But yeah, I had to step in for my girl. When I heard that, like, come on. So, Train Olive says, she's still so fit, I don't think it matters. I do think it matters on strength, because that is where Jamie's weakness is. And John is really, you can't underplay how strong John is. He is so strong. But it could be interesting if it's a blend of the two. So there. This week on Dave's Week in Review, he announced that he is definitely doing 26.1 as doing that announcement. It also seemed like he was leaning toward announcing 26.2 and 3 as well. So I think that's a good thing. I think we're in a place where we need just those steady things that happen to keep us moving forward. I want to say yesterday we were at 126,000 open registrations. So still moving in a good direction with just about a week and a day to go. So that's good. Can't wait to see what we see today. And then I wanted to just dive in a little on this piece. And I know CJ and Claire talked about this too. And it's been like all the rage on the internet. And that is a Mason startup did a video asking the question, is Dave washed? I think at the end of the day, where I've kind of landed is it's unfair to judge him by the last couple years. I think there's been so much handcuffing done in the last couple years that he has not been allowed or not been able to do more. Now, I know that there has to be a thing where the workouts have to be accessible. As we're trying to grow the sport and grow the open registrations, the more people can do it and start it, the better off we are. But I think he can, the one part I hope gets better, and hopefully this year, is more of those gated workouts where as you move through, it gets harder and harder. And because then it's accessible at the beginning for everybody, but there comes a point where then the better athletes take over and they get to shine as well. And I know it's a hard bridge to deal with, and I don't envy Dave at all in these spots, because you are trying to serve two different worlds. You're serving the average everyday CrossFitter who walks into the gym and wants to be able to say they've done an open workout RX. And then you have another group that are trying to be the best of the best and qualify for the CrossFit Games. And they want to show off why they are the best of the best. And so it's just a tightrope that he has to walk that I do not envy. And I think it's an unfair question to ask if he's washed based on the last couple years. The other thing that CJ brought up, and I really liked his answer on, was it's one man's opinion evaluating his programming. It's all, and what my thought was, that's the same as people who say that Dave is just one man and doing all the programming. If one person just comes in and analyzes it with their own thought process and their own criteria, and they don't meet what they expect, it's easy to say that Dave didn't do X, Y, and Z, and therefore he's washed, because you're setting the criteria. So I think based on one person's set of criteria, that's a little bit of an unfair analysis. Now, does he have the right to put it out there and make a statement and let the world decide based on what they see? Yeah, I think that is pretty cool. I like that he did it. I like that he put it out there. But at the end of the day, we have to realize he's judging Dave on his criteria for what the programming should be. Right? This isn't a committee. This isn't a group of people that got together and said, to find the fittest on earth, we need X, Y, and Z. This is Mason sitting down and saying, I think there needs to be more squats, and I think there needs to be this. And this is why Dave is washed. I don't think he is. I think he has birthed this sport. I think he has grown this sport. I think that it's been a hell of a couple years where he was thrown into the spotlight to be the scapegoat for what happened with Lazar in 2024. And because of that, he's had a lot to deal with and a lot to figure out on how to do this programming. And I think he's done the best with the amount of rope they are allowing him to have. And through all this, being the guy that's taking it on the chin, where everybody's like, fire him, fire him, fire him, who are against what CrossFit HQ are doing. And he took all that on and let Don Fall go hide, let the board not have to come out and say anything. Dave took all that on himself. And to then judge his programming through that era, is a little bit harsh. That's my feelings. I think he's had way more responsibilities over the last couple years than programming. I think programming is what he loves, and I think he does the best he can with what he got. But he also had to be the scapegoat. He also was the only one doing media until mid last year. He was the only one trying to get information out. And that happened even before the Lazar situation, where he interviewed all of the games athletes, where he was interviewing the affiliate owners. He was the only one putting out media from CrossFit HQ. Then he becomes the scapegoat. He's the only one talking publicly. He's the only one answering questions for everybody is, for everything that happened and everybody who wanted to blame them. He was the only one out there front facing, taking all of that on. I don't think to come in now and say, well, your programming sucked during that time is fair to say, in my opinion. I think he's done a hell of a job during this period of CrossFit. And now he has some media backing. Now he has some people coming in to play with him, and the open registrations are climbing. Wayne Short says there's no such thing as perfect programming. It's something, if something exposes your weaknesses, just go get better. There you go. Jody loves TDC. Vicky says ditto. And Vicky then says, I think it's funny that people criticize the person that created the whole idea for the games to begin with. Well, true. And I'm sure he has a criteria of what he thinks everything needs to include. And it may not match what Mason's criteria are for what he thinks it is. The one thing I know for sure is, in most sports, every season is different. When you get to the end of the season and you crown the fittest on earth, or you crown the champion, they are the champion of that season. And that season was constructed in this way. And because it was constructed in this way, you are the champion of that season. To say there's perfect programming and that it should be redundant, and CJ made this point, if we stick to criteria so much, we become the IF3. I don't want to be the IF3. I want to be what we are. I'm with you, Scott. I'm with you, Scott. Plus, we can't even comprehend what Dave went through in 2024. I try to comprehend what Dave went through in 2024 because I don't think a lot of people have put themselves in his shoes and in what he's dealt with during that time. When I put myself in his shoes, I'm a lot more lenient to all the other stuff. Because when everybody at CrossFit ran and hid, he didn't. He didn't. He went on the Sevon show. He still did his week in review. He still comes on the internet and takes questions or comments from everybody. He didn't run and hide. And so I try to put myself in those shoes and a shoe, but I don't think I can fully understand not being in them. And thank God I'm not in those shoes, because I don't want to be the one that has to deal with that. And I'm sure he didn't want to be the one who dealt with all that. He just ended up being the only one who was willing to. Jody, who never hears of anybody but Savon and myself, and I love her for that, doesn't know who Mason is. He actually just did a video with Hiller, like a 2-hour video where they kind of talk about who he is. I don't know what his background is completely, but I know he's been making videos since 2022. And he just recently got like folded into the Hiller universe. And he doesn't make a ton of videos, but they're very well researched, very well edited. And he does a great job with them. Denise says, I think it's hard to work for and represent a company whose future seems unsure. I think there's that too. Perfect programming exposes those weaknesses. And again, Joseph, I don't think there's one way to program this stuff. I think there are several ways to program, and all of them can be acceptable in that season. And to please all few 100,000 people every year is never going to happen. We all have holes in our game, and we're all going to bitch about something. That's just the way this community is. But I think in the long run, he does the best job at being as inclusive as possible to the average CrossFitter and still testing those that have to go on to the games. I do know he's pretty fit, but he's the only person I have to listen to at 2.5 times speed because his voice bugs me. That's funny, Vicky. That's funny. Yeah, there's a lot of podcasts I listen to on higher speeds. I don't know if I've ever got to 2.5. I don't think I've ever got to 2.5. And Amanda says he also doesn't have social media. Yeah, he doesn't like the comments. He doesn't read the comments. He says on Hiller that he doesn't even have social media because he wants to be more productive. But there it is. So in my opinion, Dave is not washed. Dave's role has just had to shift based on everything that's happened around him. And therefore, maybe, just maybe, during these times, programming wasn't all encompassing for him during those times. Because he had all this other shit to deal with. Like a ton of other shit. And I'm sure that he is working to get better. I'm sure that nobody self-evaluates what they've done and sees it play out like he does. So I'm excited for this Open. I hope Dave comes out and shows the world that he can still be creative, that he can still lay down some awesome programming and do all that. Clock asked, does Mason even do CrossFit? His own programming looks like conventional strength and conditioning workouts with a veneer of CrossFit. Again, I don't know a lot about him. I got partway through the Hiller video. I did not finish it. I need to go back and do that. But yeah. On to a few other things. I do want to get you guys off of here in the next 6 minutes. Because the Sport of Fitness podcast is announcing the athletes for 26.3. So I want to make sure you guys get over for that. That is over on the CrossFit Games channel. And they're having Dylan Malitsky on to do that. So Dylan and Chase will be talking about Wodapalooza, I'm sure. And there it is. Glock says, yeah, that was a tough video to get through. I didn't make it past 3/4. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. That's all I'll say. I'm with you. Wayne brings up a good point. This isn't on my rundown, But I missed Pedro's pod with Fee. Is her shoulder now good to go? Saw she signed with WFP. I have not seen an update on the shoulder, Wayne. I don't think it's better, but I do think that there were backfills and she was given the opportunity for guaranteed money. And this is kind of where there's this is where guaranteed money has its problems. So she signs. What happens if tour event 1, she shows up and event 1 comes up and it's got handstand push-ups and she does the wave to the crowd, hey guys, and then walks to the finish line and doesn't do the event, just like that happened at the finals in Copenhagen. She showed up. She did her thing. She's guaranteed that money. That's not what I want to see. That's not what I want to see. But I also understand they just offered her a guarantee of a couple tens of thousands of dollars. Do you not sign? Do you walk away? And I am friends with Fee. Fee is freaking awesome. This is not a dig on Fee. It's a dig on the construction of the season with guaranteed money. And back in the 80s, they ran into this with tennis, where people were offered guaranteed money to come participate in a tennis tournament so they could draw crowds, and then they would lose on purpose in the first round, collect the money, and go home. And that's when tennis had to change things up. It's just bad construction of their season. I hope she's better. I hope it's not that she's pushing it because she got this guaranteed contract now and she's going to injure the shoulder more. I hope that's not the case. But again, it's just everything sounds good until you see the few little loopholes and wrinkles in the process that can happen, because I don't want to watch the Bethany Shadburns and the Fees just wave to the crowd and go to the finish line when someone could have been there and competed. But again, they're trying to get 50 people to these events, which is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing at this point. Ortega says, I'm actually okay with that. We don't know if Fia will actually be okay by the time WFP Tour 1 comes out. Are we seeing more injuries with high-level athletes, or is it recency bias getting me? I think it's recency bias. But I do think that, like, the Boys Interrupted made a great point about Justin made a really interesting point. Another loophole, kind of what I've been saying with these 5 wildcard invites. If he qualifies early for the games at a semifinal and he doesn't have to do a lot in between that and the games, he said, if I feel like it and my body feels good, I'll reach out to them, see if I can get a wild card, go to Tour Stop 1, and then the rest of the WFP season is after the game season. It's crazy. Like, there's all these loopholes, and that's why they're doing the wild card invite for the thing that Justin just brought up himself on Boys Interrupted this week. So many loopholes to the pro card, so many. Lito asked if I saw the athlete invited, can't remember his name, to Mayhem, but then isn't in their roster. Was it some kind of joke? I don't know what you're saying there, Lito. I know they invited a guy that I had not seen before. And now I see they posted rosters. And it has 20. Yeah, I saw. Where is he at now? I don't see the post anymore. I know what you're talking about. This morning, I saw a post of a new athlete for the MAM Classic. It is no longer up. So I don't know. Yeah, the post isn't there anymore. Yep. I know what you're saying. I saw it this morning and I was like, I don't even know who that person is. And it has now been taken down. So the world may never know, Lito. Nate Illingsworth. Well, here's the thing. I see Barbell Spin's post. They have 20 athletes listed. That's how many people they invited. That's how many people they were going to invite. And there they are. So there it is. All right, guys. That filled the docket for the day. Sport of Fitness podcast is going live now. Why don't you guys head over there, see who the announcement's going to be for 26.3. By the silhouettes, it looks like 2 men and 2 women, but we'll find out soon enough. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Hope Corey's able to jump on with me tomorrow. We'll see you all next time on Lunch with the Clydesdale.